Good afternoon. This is a very wrong time to talk to a group of young people after a sumptuous lunch. And a person with PhD can put you to sleep very easily. And a person with PhD in political science is even more qualified to do that. I am one of them. I'll try to keep you awake. The topic for this session is environmental ethics. Unfortunately, in the fast developing India, it's an oxymoron. In the fast developing world, environmental ethics is an oxymoron. You cannot have any ethics. Industrial growth, economic development, job opportunities, prosperity, happiness, and all these concepts are being bandied about in the name of development. And when you talk about environmental ethics, you become a very big threat for the vested interests. Because you make people think. They start calling you Maoists, Naxalite, Liberation Tigers, and all the rest of it. When the environmental movement started off in the 20th century, people were talking only about the wilderness, protecting the wilderness, protecting the wild animals, and so forth. Gradually, people started thinking that wilderness is not all about environment. We need to look at human beings, human societies. Environment is not just all about trees and ponds and lakes and rivers. It also includes human beings and their socio-economic, political surroundings. So environment got a different twist in that period of time. And then we started talking about environmental justice. Now, how come some of us do not get this environmental justice? You can think of a lot of examples. I will walk you through some of them. You know, the world during the Cold War, the world was divided into East and West. Communist East, capitalist West. NATO, Warsaw Pact. US headed, Soviet Union headed. After the onset of LPG, liberalization, privatization, and globalization, the world got divided into different terms, north, south. The equator became the dividing line to some extent, roughly. The north is industrialized, south is mainly agricultural. North is mostly Christian, south is non-Christian, Hindu, Muslim, so forth. North is mostly white people, exception could be Japan. South is people of color. North is industry based, south is agriculture based. This north-south divide is ruling the world now. Now the question we want to ask is, how come most of the victims of our so-called development happen to be in the south? Why? Why most of the polluting industries are in the south? Why most of the pollutants and toxic waste and all these dangerous things are heaped on the heads of people in the south? There is no social environmental justice here. The standard of life and the standard of living are quite high in the north. Opportunities are ample. People have a higher standard of life and living. But in the south, people have a lower standard of life and living. Quality of life is fast deteriorating. All these polluting industries are being set up in the south. People suffer disproportionately from all different toxic chemicals, toxic waste, radioactive waste, and so forth. So why? What is the reason? Why is South pays a higher price in this game of development. In Philadelphia, there was a company that was burning the toxic waste in their incinerator, and at one point they wanted to get rid of that waste, so they hired a company. That company took all the waste to Haiti. Haiti is a very poverty-stricken country in the Western Hemisphere. They dumped all the waste on the poor people of Haiti. Some people in Haiti were intelligent enough to oppose this. They took to the street, they opposed it, they fought a very long and protruded legal battle, and after almost a decade-long struggle, did they manage to get the company remove that. It's only rare exception. In most cases, the indigenous communities don't even know what is going on. When the French test their nuclear weapons, say in Bikini Islands in the Pacific, the local people don't even know what the hell they are doing there. This is just one example. In the United States-Mexico border, they have maquiladoras. The rich companies bring their raw material, technology, technically qualified people and everything. They set up these industries and dump all the waste in the creeks and rivers between United States and Mexico. People in Mexico suffer from all these things disproportionately. Why? Why should people in the South suffer more from this so-called development? Now, within the South countries, things are even worse. When we set up nuclear power plants, thermal power plants, shipbreaking plants, hotels, resorts, and all these so-called industries and modern development projects, how come indigenous people suffer more? How come Adivasis, fisher people, women, children suffer more than people in the elite sections, people in the big cities, mega cities? When you set up a nuclear power plant in Kalpakkam, for example, there was a recent report in the media here in Tamil Nadu that most of the women who live in and around the Kalpakkam nuclear power plant suffer from thyroid-related illnesses. I myself have seen it. I've talked to hundreds of women, and I attest to that fact that women in Kalpakkam area suffer a lot more than women in other parts of the state. How come the weak and vulnerable sections of the South countries suffer more than the elites? We never hear that a member of parliament was killed in an earthquake, but we only hear thousands of ordinary people getting killed in all these. So within South countries, the weak and vulnerable, the poor, oppressed people suffer more from these environmental damages. So environmental justice is not there for them. There is a remarkable amount of environmental racism. Environmental racism. Environmental discrimination. Rich people are being protected. Elites are being protected. The poor, minorities, marginalized sections suffer more from these so-called development projects. They play a very minimal role in policy making. We can think of Dalits here in our country, Adivasis, fisher people, quite a lot of them. They are carefully kept away from policy making processes. They play a very little role in developing environmental regulations, laws. And in their implementation, they don't even have any say at all. So there is a disparity. And some Western scholars, like Tom Regan, calls this environmental fascism. What is environmental fascism? Killing people, a politics that kills people because of their poverty and killing nature. You kill not only the people, but also nature. And this is environmental fascism. Now, all these minorities, all these impoverished people, oppressed people I listed suffer from this environmental fascism in today's India also, when we go berserk with our so-called development saga. They cannot get justice, environmental justice. Why? How can an Adivasi group go to Supreme Court, employ a lawyer who is becoming more and more expensive, as Tista pointed out this morning? How can they afford to employ an expensive lawyer and seek justice? They are poor, they are illiterate, they are uneducated, they are ill-informed. They cannot go to any court of law in this country seeking justice. They can't fight against the government, which is becoming more and more authoritarian with less and less democratic space, where your intentions are considered to be malafide. You are being looked down upon with the suspicious underpinnings and so forth. And how can these poor people fight against a multinational corporation that is so rich, that is so well connected, that can go to any extent to defend their interests? How can they do that? When they fight against a local sand mafia group, they are helpless. All they can do is some non-violent struggle, blocking the sand quarry for a few days, and that's it. But the corrupt police, corrupt bureaucracy, and corrupt politicians come to the rescue of the sand quarry mine owner. Poor people cannot do much. So, environmental justice means there should not be any discrimination on the basis of all these things. The dignity and safety and security of all the people should be protected. And there should be participation. They should be heard. That's what we say. We have beautiful environmental laws in this country. You should organize a public hearing. When you decide, when you plan a so-called development project like a nuclear power plant, you should ask the people. You should share all the public information with the people as they do in the United States, Canada, Britain, France, and other Western countries. Give the information to the people. Let them read. Let them think. They can think. They may be illiterate, but they do have the capacity to think about their lives. Have faith in their intelligence, in their integrity. Let them read and organize a public hearing. In the public hearing, if majority people decide that no, we do not want this project in our community, the government should oblige. But what is happening today in India is they organize this very artificial public hearing. No matter what you say, the useless collector would write a report saying people asked some questions and our so-called experts answered their questions, everything is taken care of, now we can go ahead with the project. This whole thing is done as a sham. So, there is no participation. And that is how the so-called environmental justice is being handed over to our people. Environmental justice is directly related to environmental ethics. What is that environmental ethics? Think about our situation, human condition, as Hannah Arendt would put it. Whatever we need, if you need a podium, a microphone, you want to have lunch this afternoon, everything has to come from the nature. Nature is finite. It is not like a mine. You can go on digging and taking as much as you want. It's a finite source of elements, wealth, whatever it is. And that finite source, you can take for your needs. You can utilize the nature for your needs. If everyone takes it only according to their needs, there will not be any problems. There won't be any pollution. There won't be any social conflicts. People can get along with each other because all our basic needs are fulfilled and we utilize the nature. What the result end would be peace and happiness. But if you start exploiting, if you start plundering the nature for your greed, not the need, for greed, I want more. I want to be the number one country in the world, numero uno. I want to be the richest man in the country. I want to be an Adani or Ambani or Lakshmi Mittal or whatever it is. I don't know what the hell they would do with all their money. If you start exploiting nature for your greed, there will be social conflict. There will be economic conflict. There will be tussle. There will be war and disharmony. This is a simple formula. Now, without any ethics, obviously you would go for greed. Gandhi said, there is enough on this earth for everybody's need, but not for everybody's greed. In the so-called liberalization, privatization, globalization scheme, greed, the whole world is being bombarded with this greed culture. Everybody wants more. This, they play with all these statistics, number game, GDP, GNP, growth rate, and all that nonsense, foreign direct investment. We are being misled by the rulers, and the result is now 1% of the Indian population controls 73% of the wealth. Can you imagine? 1% of the population. That is, say, 120 crore people we have. 1 crore 20 lakh people enjoy 73% of the wealth of India. At the global level, it's even worse. 86% of the wealth, global wealth, is controlled by 1% of the human population. Now, how lopsided the whole scheme is. How unethical the whole thing is. Let's think about a couple of examples that are closer to home. I'm sure you have heard about the Kaveri Delta. I'm sure there are people from that area also here. Kaveri Delta has been the breadbasket of Tamil Nadu for ages, from time immemorial. We all eat the rice that is grown in the Kaveri Delta. But now comes our development-based central government, and they say that, look, in India, we have identified some DSFs, discovered small fields. In remote locations, we have discovered hydrocarbons. What are those hydrocarbons? Hydrocarbons can be in a gaseous form, methane gas, shale gas, and all other things. It can be in the solid form, like carbon, coal, or it can be in the liquid form, like oil. So in some form, these specific locations have so much deposit, discovered small fields. The central government does not have the resources, technology, the technical know-how. So we are handing the licenses over to private parties. They can go invest their money and exploit these resources. They can fix their own price. They have to pay the government a small amount. They can sell it at any price they want. They can make profit. What do we get? Employment. They are giving jobs. Now for all you educated young people, you're all going to find jobs. And they are going to make a killing. We don't bother about that. This is a real sham of plundering the people, plundering the people's resources in the name of employment, development, and all the nonsense. There is a small little village called Neduvasal in Pudukkottai district. All of a sudden they announced, they did not consult with the local people. They did not give them any basic information about that. One fine morning, the central government announces that, look, Neduvasal is one of the DSFs, discovered small fields. There is a lot of hydrocarbons. We have handed over the license to Gem Laboratories, a company based in Karnataka. The company is owned by Siddheswara, a local member of parliament who belongs to BJP. Member of parliament from Davangere constituency. He has been the MP of that place, of that constituency since 2004. So that means he has been the local MP for 14 years. His father was the MP for 3 terms before. In other words, His family has been ruling that area for the past quarter century. They have started a company. Has Gem Laboratories done any excavations, any explorations in any other part of the world? No. Nothing. No experience. No business experience in this field. How on the earth are you handing over this license to them? Nobody knows. Gem Laboratories has been given the license to take away, to dig out all the hydrocarbons that are deposited there. The people in Neduvassal area were up in arms. They started a struggle, a spontaneous struggle, but some pro-governmental elements went there and they blamed the whole thing on me. That's the very funny part. That Udhayakumar went and instigated the whole thing. These Naxalites, these Maoists are against India's development, and so they started this struggle. It's the local people. I've been to Neduvassal quite a few times. The illiterate women speak a lot more intelligently than a person with a PhD. Because, my friends, they are losing their land, they are losing their history, their memory, their identity, their everything. They are going to lose everything. So obviously they are up in arms. People in Delhi or people in Chennai don't have the basic intelligence to understand that they are losing everything, so they are problematizing the whole thing, the whole project. Instead of understanding the simple truth, they are looking for a scapegoat to blame the whole thing on. Similarly, another project, Kadaramangalam. Just 2 weeks ago, they celebrated 250th day of their struggle. Kadaramangalam people, mostly women, are leading the struggle against ONGC, Oil and Natural Gas Commission. They walk into their village, they put exploratory wells, and they say, look, there is a large deposit of oil in this area and we are going to take it. Like the East India Company did once. Our own East India companies do. Now they are also planning to set up petrochemical industries all across the Kaveri Delta. Tiruchi, Tanjavur, Thiruvarur, Pudukkottai, Ramanathapuram, Sivagangai, the 6-7 districts are going to be ruined. Look, you may have gold. You may have gold in all these districts. Can we eat the damn gold? We have to eat something that grows on the land. Farming is the most important activity that a human being can possibly do, because we cannot survive without drinking water and food even for more than a day. We can live happily without gold. So even if you find gold or diamond or platinum or what nonsense you have, we have to have our priorities in order. But we don't want to do that. Why? In the name of development. What kind of development? Whose development? These are the two simple questions we ask. Whose development? It's not Adani's and Ambani's development, the poor people's development, Dalits' development, the fish workers' development, the farmers' development, the weavers' development, the workers' development. Let's consider all those also part of the Indian polity and think about that, their development. And what kind of development? The Western development paradigm will not work. It does not work even in their countries, because they are coming to our countries to set up all these poisonous and factories and all that. So now there is another interesting project, Sagarmala. Now the reason I am saying all this is, when you go out of the college, when you graduate with your MSW, there are people who are out there waiting for leaders, waiting for informed, educated young leaders to lead them, to guide them, to advise them, to take them to a different destination. So you people must know about all these things. You have to spend at least an hour every single day reading these newspapers and what is exactly going on. That is where your job is. As Tista pointed out, not in the corporate houses. If you go to work as a social worker in a corporate hospital, you are going to ruin your life and your career. People out there are waiting for you. Sagarmala project. What is this God-forsaken Sagarmala? China has a project called the String of Pearls. The power that dominates over the Indian Ocean will be the next major power in the world. So China has set up bases in quite a few countries in the southern Indian Ocean. and they are surrounding up India. So the late India, who is already, as usual, we were sleeping, and now all of a sudden we are woken up. Oh, look, the Chinese have surrounded us. What do? They call string of pearls. Okay, now we will announce Sagar Mala. What does that Sagar Mala mean? Sagar Mala means there are 12 existing ports in India. They are going to set up 20 more ports across the Indian peninsula. So 20 plus 12, 32 ports will be established, and all these port cities will be developed with a lot of industrial base, and all these, how many I said? 22. All these 22 sites will be linked by 6-lane highways, railroads, because they can carry things from one port to another port. So they will be connected, and they will become a hub of industrial activity, prosperity. There will be money flowing like anything in our country. We all will be living happily ever after. Don't worry. We will be living happily. We will lose our land. We will lose our water. We will lose our air, our mountains, our seas, our rivers, our lakes and ponds, and we will have the ports. Who will own the ports? Adanis and Ambanis. Who will be making money? Adanis and Ambanis. Who will be paying the cost? You and I. This is the Sagar Mala project. When you oppose this project, obviously you become a national security threat, because you are opposing India's development. You are an American stooge. You are a Maoist. You are a Naxalite. You are a secessionist. You are a separatist. You are a Tamil tiger. You are a Desadrohi. You are seditious. You are anti-national. Anti-national. You are anti-everything. சொந்த சகோதரர்கள் துன்பத்தில் சாதர் கண்டும் சிந்தை இறங்காரடி கிளியே செம்மை மறந்தாரடி. Bharatiyar sang. Your own brothers are suffering. The government should be working for the people. The whole idea is the people form the basis of any country. Okay, people are the cornerstone. The state is working as the flagpole. The state is leading the people. The state means officers, authorities, workers, and all the people who work for the state. So they need money to pay their salaries. State needs money to give education to the people, to build hospitals, to build roads, to produce energy, recreation facilities and all that. So money is needed. So the third point is the economy. Economy makes the whole thing run. People are number one. State is number two. State is very important. If there is no state, what will happen is like what is going on in Somalia, for example. If there is no strong leadership, no people can have a peaceful life. Leadership is very important. So state is important. If there is no state, stateless country cannot survive. And then we have the economy and the external society, the outside world recognizes the arrangement and they help each other and they support. This is how a country is planned and worked. But what happens now is the economy has become the foundation's cornerstone. Economy has become the most important thing. Who brings money? If you have money, you can control the government. You pay donations to the politicians and political parties. You decide who rules the country. So they depend on the capitalists. Capitalists run the show. People are becoming an outsider. And people in fact become a threat. You and I, people like you and I, become a threat. We are becoming Marxists. We are becoming Maoists. We are becoming Naxalites. Because we are asking uncomfortable questions about this relationship, about this working arrangement. That is exactly what is going on now. So, in this situation, what do we need? How can we help ourselves? What can we do? There are a couple of options. One is persist with the modernization approach, development, industrial growth, economic development. Let things continue. This is nice. Now we see very soon we also becoming like our country will also become like New York's, London's, Paris. we'll be very developed. Metro running all over, roads and caves and tunnels, and nobody knows who is your neighbor, and never mind about all those things. Never mind if you get a stomachache or something, you call a police or you call ambulance and go to the doctor. Nobody will come to your rescue. This is going to be alienated society. Okay, this is the one extreme model that we have. What is the other extreme model? Regress. Progress, regress. Progress means growth. Regress means going back. Look, no. I don't know if how many of you have heard about Unabomber. There was a maths professor in the United States. He got sick with this system, and he started killing people by sending bombs. His approach was wrong, bad, but the man's ideology was very good. Unabomber wrote a manifesto. I read that. It was published in total in the New York Times a couple of years ago. I'm sure it is available in the internet. If you get a chance, please take a look at it. Unabomber's manifesto. Very bright, wonderful man. I don't know how many of you have heard about Ted Ludd. If you don't believe in all these modernization, electricity, mechanization, paraphernalia, you are called a Luddite. Ludd. Ted Ludd is a British who did not believe in this modernization thing. So people call them Luddites. They go for regress. Let's go back. Now this nonsense is not helping us. That is the other extreme. We cannot take that position also. Obviously, we cannot go back to the 17th century life anymore because we have accomplished quite a lot. Now the next to that, from that position would be no growth, zero growth. Don't grow, stop everything, stand still. Now that is also not very practical because any living organism has to grow. We have to grow, and at one point we wilt and we die, and from that seed another one sapling props up. So that is a cycle of life. You cannot close your eyes and say, oh, look, no growth, zero growth is not a very viable option. So what can be the beautiful midpoint? That is the green economy, green growth. Green growth. What is green growth? Green growth is based on green ethics. What is green ethics? Acknowledge the fact that we are not the masters of the universe. Humans are not the masters of the universe. We are another species, We are another species. We are a species. We are not just the masters of the universe. We are part of the scheme. And there are other species. We are one of the many. So acknowledge your smallness. Acknowledge the fact that you are part of the whole. You are not the entire whole. That is number one. We exist in and because of nature. We exist in nature. We are not above nature. We exist because of nature. As I pointed out, without nature, nothing, we don't have anything. So we depend on nature. We have to take care of nature. We have to protect nature because nature protects us. And this is a complex, intricate web of life. Acknowledge it, see it, believe, feel it, be part of it. It's an intricate, complex web of life. This nuclear power, this nuclear bomb is the worst thing one can possibly imagine. That is anti-nature. If you believe in God, anti-God, and if you believe everything, anti-thing. It does not acknowledge that intricate nature of life. So shun all these things. Be part of the whole. What does it mean to be a human being? My friends, we are all fast losing that humanity. We are becoming like machines. We are fast becoming machines. The other day I was talking here and I was mentioning Aldous Huxley's novel, Brave New World, Charlie Chaplin's movie, Modern Times. We are becoming mechanical. We are being monetized. Everything in life has a value, has a money value. If you have money, you can buy everything, even mother's love. We are being sucked into this consumerist lifestyle. The more you have, the happier you feel about yourself. The bigger and longer your endowments are, you feel good about yourself. This kind of having society, not being society. Eric Fromm uses these concepts. Having, have more. You feel good about yourself, you feel safe, you feel secure. That kind of thing. What does it mean? What does it mean to be a human being? Social workers know what does it mean to be a human being. That's what we study and that's what we try to be. What does it mean to be a human being? Retain that humaneness. Retain that humaneness. Without humaneness, we are machines. Machines. Mahatma Gandhi called the state as a soulless machine. That machine has no soul. It treats you with brutality. How do we relate ourselves with nature? How many of us take time to sit down under a tree for 15 minutes and do nothing? சும்மா இருக்கிறது சொல்லுங்க தமிழ்ல. சும்மா இருக்க முடியாத அளவுக்கு மோசமா போயிட்டப்பா நம்ம. சும்மா இருக்க முடியாது. சும்மா இருக்கிறது ரொம்ப கஷ்டமாயிடும். You can't be idle. Try to be idle. Really. I'm trying to inculcate that value within me. Just leave everything out. I mean, these computers, so this useless phone keeps running. All these phones and everything, I just sit with my parents. They are in their 80s. And it's really, it makes, that is living, that is life. Sit there, do nothing. The world will take care of itself. Without you and your social work, the world will be beautiful. Don't worry about it. Just be idle. Take time. Be with nature. Go and talk to a tree. Go touch a tree. Touch a tree. Imagine that the tree talks to you. Let's be foolish. Let's be childish. We cannot be childish anymore. See, that's the problem. Let's talk to a sparrow. Let's talk to have a garden on your terrace and talk to a plant. Go talk to a plant. As if your father or mother happens to look at you, they will take you to psychiatrist. Really. How do we relate to nature? That's an important thing. And to other species, do we ever think about other species? I was in Idindakarai, coastal village, for 2.5 years. There were so many sparrows. Really, it was such a beautiful sight to see these sparrows. You don't see sparrows leave alone Chennai, not even in my town, Nagarkoil. How do we connect with other species? Have a pet at home. Talk to a dog. Talk to a cat. It makes the life a lot more meaningful. To future generations, this modern paraphernalia about development kills these externalities. Don't think about nature. Don't think about future. Future doesn't exist. It is use and throw. You set up a nuclear power plant, we get electricity for 40 years, but what moral legitimacy do we have to impose this highly dangerous nuclear waste on successive generations? That's a simple question we ask. They call us anti-national. What moral legitimacy do we have? We get electricity for 40 years. What do our children, what do you get? What do you guys get? What do your children get? Nothing. Then why should we put this dangerous waste on their heads? 48,000 years. Think about future. Think about people. This is green ethic. And there are two versions. One is, this gardener version. We are the gardeners. We are human beings. We have PhDs in political science. So we are superior. We know everything. And we become the manager, a caretaker. So the world is a garden, and we become gardeners. We assume that responsibility of working as a gardener. You take care of the garden. That is one version. Another approach is wilderness. Look, never mind. You are just part of the whole thing. Let it grow. Let the wilderness be. You just be part of it. Now, which approach would be good to follow? Maybe a combination of both, because we are the ones who make policies, we are the ones who make rules and regulations, we are the ones who plan development projects and so forth. So we have to go with these two. And there are two other concepts I want to introduce: environmentalism and ecologism. Environmentalism is a shallow understanding of the whole thing. Ecologism is a lot deeper. without changing our value system, without changing our perceptions, without changing our assumptions, without altering our consumerist way of life, without questioning our own value system, we cannot change anything. So don't be superficial and call yourself an environmentalist. Go deeper and be an ecologist. Ecologism is the best approach. And acknowledge the interdependent nature of everything. Your family, all the way to the planet and to the universe. Everything is interrelated. Acknowledge that. And all these human actions have an impact on the biosphere. Whatever we do, it has an impact. Let us acknowledge that. And consequences, the consequences of our commissions and omissions leave a very strong footprint on our future generations. Gandhi said very beautifully, all we have on this earth is not our entitlement. It's not your right. It's not your entitlement. It's a loan. It's a damn loan that we have borrowed from our children. We have to repay. So let's acknowledge this indebtedness. We are indebted. We are in debt. We are not the masters of the universe. We are not the owners. This is not our right. This is not our entitlement. Have personal, individual responsibility. Be responsible. Don't say, let the world change, I will change. No, you change. You begin the change with yourself. Gandhi said. Again, be the change you want to be. Forget about the rest of the world. Nothing will happen. Don't worry. You go talk to a tree. You spend some time with your family. You have a meal together. Change. From that individual change will come collective change. From the personal change will come the societal change. Let's work on that. And the green concept of democracy. Democracy itself is in peril. All the democratic processes in this country have become a sham. I don't believe in any of our elections anymore. I don't believe in the democratic system we have in our country. Unless or otherwise you are a multi-millionaire, you cannot contest an election and win. Democracy is losing its meaning in this country. So let's revive that. There is nothing better than that. Let's have a green concept of democracy. Let's, as social work students, what can we do? Let's work as an interest group. We know more than anybody else, social workers understand this intricate, complex web of life a lot better. So let us work as an interest group. If you are from the Kaveri Delta area, concentrate on the hydrocarbon project. If you are from the coastal area, look at the nuclear power plant issue. Make a study group. Form a group of 5 people. Follow the news. Follow the policy changes. Discuss. Take this news to the community and your own community and all. And educate and inform the people. My friends, we need teachers. This country needs millions of teachers. People who can think through issues. People who can take a clear stand. And most importantly, people who can communicate. Our people are ready and yearning. People are willing to learn, like good students. But we all have the wrong type as leaders. They educate in the wrong way. People follow them blindly. Cinema actors, Rajinikanth and Kamala Hassan are going to be our next leaders. Can you imagine? Educate. Social work students have to educate the people, inform the people, and engage in acts of civil disobedience. If you see something wrong, please stand up by all means. Stand up. Engage in random acts of kindness. We don't have to believe or engage in violent activities. Non-violence, non-cooperation, civil disobedience. Let us do it and let us make other people do it and transform the system. You can change the system. You can begin that change with yourself. Transform the system and go back to the land. Go back to the land. Even if you are living in a big city like Chennai, at least get out of the city once a week. Go back to the land. Do something with the land. Get your hands dirty. Land means not just the land. It could be the sea. It could be the mountain. It could be a lake or river or anything. Go back. Get your hand dirty. Touch the nature. Touch Mother Earth. Be a child. Be with Mother Earth. That will make wonderful changes within you. And the social workers without ethics are the politicians. Right? And we need social workers with ethics. Try to be a politician too. It's not something wrong. Be a politician. We need young politicians. We need more people who are interested in public life. If we don't inculcate enough leaders, we will be stuck with all kinds of wrong people as we are now. So this kind of green growth is very important with appropriate technology, sustainable development, participatory democracy, harmony with nature, enhanced local governance. Local governance has become a joke also in this country. And traditional custom of caring and sharing. Everything in our tradition is not bad. Tradition is not good, especially our useless tradition of caste and all the nonsense. But there are good things in the tradition also. Let us revive those and think about future. Future-mindedness. Futuristic. Being futuristic. Our country has a rich tradition of future. We rarely talk about that. I will conclude with all the things that I taught. I could sum up with two simple quotes. Thiruvalluvar said, "Pirappokum ella uyirkum." Let us shun this useless caste, religion, creed, and all that nonsense. Humans, dogs, animals, birds. No. Pirappokum ella uyirkum. Birth is the same for all the lives. காக்கை குருவி எங்கள் சாதி காக்கை குருவி எங்கள் சாதி நீர் கடலும் மலையும் எங்கள் கூட்டம் பாரதியார். It's not just us. Even the sparrows and crows are part of our group. Even the long seas and the mountains are part of our collective. And that approach alone will redeem us, will bring about environmental ethics. Thank you.